There is this old gnome saying right at the very beginning of Alain Lescart's book, Jebeddo the Trickster.
Oh, yeah, I know the exact one you mean.
Right, it goes, "The mountain speaks to those who listen. The foolish hear only echoes."
Which is just, I mean, it is such a perfect way to open the story.
It really is, because if you think about the physical reality of a cave, an echo is literally just your own noise bouncing back off a hardened surface. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, you aren't actually hearing the environment at all.
Right, you are just experiencing a localized reverberation of your own presence.
Yes, just hearing yourself over and over.
And when I first read that, I assumed Lescar was just doing some standard atmospheric fantasy world building. Making it sound cool and mystical.
Like typical high fantasy flavor text, right?
Yeah, exactly. But returning to it now, that epigraph feels like the ultimate diagnostic tool for the entire society we're about to explore.
It acts as a philosophical litmus test, honestly.
Right.
And it immediately establishes the central epistemological tension of the book.
Right, the whole way they view reality.
Exactly. Like, are the inhabitants of this subterranean world actually engaging with the complex organic reality surrounding them?
Or are they trapped in a closed loop?
Yes, exactly. Are they listening exclusively to the reverberations of their own rigid traditions?
Which is such a brilliant way to frame a story. So welcome to the deep dive, everyone.
Glad to be here.
Today we are heading deep underground, into the labyrinthine tunnels of the Fairy Rose Mountains, to dissect a beautifully textured world.
It really is beautifully textured.
It is. We are going to unpack Chapter 1 of Alain Lescart's Jebeddo the Trickster.
Such a great chapter.
Oh, it is the best. And for those of you who want to dive into the primary text and see Lescart's broader universe, you can find his work over at alainlescart.com.
Highly recommend checking that out.
For sure. But our mission today is very specific. We are assuming you are familiar with the basic geography of Norwesis and the premise of the book.
Right, so we aren't going to get bogged down in simple plot summaries.
Exactly. Instead, we want to look under the hood.
Yeah, we really want to examine the socio-psychological architecture of this gnome society.
Figure out how a culture obsessed with order accidentally engineers its own trickster figure.
And to do that properly, we really should start with Lescart's introduction.
Yes, definitely.
Because he provides a fascinating, incredibly transparent look at his own literary scaffolding.
He really does.
He describes this narrative as, quote, part memory, part mischief.
Part memory, part mischief. That is a crucial pairing.
It is. He is openly acknowledging that while he is writing high fantasy...
Right, with the gnomes in the mountains.
Yeah, while he's doing that, the emotional core of his protagonist, Jebeddo, is drawn directly from his own childhood experiences.
Experiences of, not quite fitting into institutional structures.
Exactly.
And he specifically flags two massive, seemingly incongruous literary influences.
This part blew my mind.
Right. On one hand, you have Tolkien's The Hobbit.
Sure, which makes sense.
Right, which gives us the subterranean adventuring, the sprawling mountain halls, the dwarven and gnomish archetypes.
The classic fantasy elements.
Exactly. But on the other hand, he cites Anthony Buckridge's Jennings series.
Which is so funny.
It is. And for those of you who don't read mid-century British schoolboy fiction...
Which is probably a lot of you.
Probably. Yeah. The Jennings series is all about boarding school antics.
Right.
Where a well-meaning kid inevitably triggers, catastrophic bureaucratic chaos.
Catastrophic chaos is the perfect way to put it.
Fusing those two genres is wild. It is like dropping Dennis the Menace into the mines of Moria.
Oh, that is a great analogy. It is an incredibly potent genre mashup. And it works because it grounds the epic fantasy in localized, highly relatable institutional absurdity.
Yes, the grandeur of the mountain setting is constantly undercut by the petty bureaucratic rigidity of the gnome elders.
Man, the school instructors, yeah.
Lescar uses that friction between the vastness of nature and the smallness of institutional rules to explore how authority figures react to things they can't control.
Right, which is usually not well.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to truly understand why Jebeddo operates the way he does, we have to look at the foundational forces that shaped him.
We really do. We have to look at his parents.
Exactly. They represent two entirely different ways of processing reality.
Complete opposites.
Let's start with his mother, Mirabelle Brightborough.
Mirabelle is, she is a fascinating character study in subtle subversion.
She really is.
In a fiercely patriarchal clan structure like the Fergus Clan, she somehow retains her outsider identity.
Right. Lescar makes a point to mention she originates from the bladesmiths.
Which is a huge distinction.
It is. In the sociology of Norwesis, miners, Like Jebeddo's father, they're defined by extraction and endurance.
Right, they break the stone.
They break the stone,
Mm.
yes. Bladesmiths, however, are defined by transformation.
Exactly. They take raw material and use heat and imagination to turn it into something else entirely.
And she brings that transformative energy directly into Jebeddo's bedroom.
She really
She
does.
is the preeminent storyteller of the caverns.
Oh yeah, she doesn't just read him to sleep.
No.
She essentially rewrites his mental architecture.
That is a great way to put it. She feeds him these sprawling narratives about dragon lore, daring escapes.
The magic of the unexplored halls.
Yes. She is giving him a vocabulary for a world that exists far beyond the strict utilitarian confines of the Fergus clan's daily life.
She provides the blueprint for his imagination, basically.
He does. But then, standing in direct ideological opposition to that, we have Borgrim Fergus,
His father?
his father. And Borgrim is not just a miner.
No, he is a clan elder.
Right, he embodies the physical and cultural weight of the society.
He really does.
I want to pause on Borgrim, actually, because it is so easy to just label him the mean, strict dad.
Oh, totally. The classic trope.
Right. But Lescart writes him with a specific kind of terrifying gravity.
Terrifying gravity.
He is obsessed with duty, with the ancestral lineage of the Fergus name, and with this idea of unyielding stone.
Right. Borgrim doesn't really see a child when he looks at Jebeddo.
No, what does he see?
He sees an apprentice who needs to be slotted into the societal machine.
Yes. Slotted into the machine.
And the tragedy of their relationship isn't necessarily rooted in maliciousness.
You don't think so?
No, I mean, I think it is rooted in biological and sociological incompatibility.
Oh, that makes sense.
Borgrim values traits that can be measured and quantified by the clan's standards.
Right, which brings us to the most visible manifestation of Jebeddo's alienation.
His physical appearance.
The beardlessness.
The beardlessness.
I mean, in Norwesis, the semiotics of the beard are deeply intertwined with masculinity.
Masculinity, moral rectitude, belonging.
Exactly. A strong jaw, a prominent chin, a thick beard.
These aren't just aesthetic preferences for them.
No, they are biological markers of the Fergus clan's identity.
Right. And Jebeddo, at 12 years old, is stubbornly bare-chinned.
Stubbornly bare-chinned. I love that phrasing.
He lacks the jawline. He is a walking, breathing anomaly at his own dinner table.
He literally wears his failure to conform on his face.
Yeah. Which, it forces him into a very specific psychological posture at home.
Oh, for sure. He minimizes himself.
He has to.
The text details how he sits quietly in the corner, like attempting to shrink into the masonry when Borgrim is present.
It is so sad. He is attempting to become invisible.
Because visibility in that household invites correction.
Exactly. But the second he is out of that house, all that repressed energy has to go somewhere.
It really does.
Yeah.
Which leads him into the classroom.
Where he immediately claims the role of the class jester.
Yes. And here is where I want to push back a little on the educational framework of the gnome instructors.
Oh, they are awful.
They are. They have this pedagogical mantra that they repeat to the apprentices.
Let me guess.
A fine piece of iron must be struck many times before it takes its proper shape.
Right. That one.
Now, earlier we talked about Mirabelle being a bladesmith.
Yeah.
But the instructor's use of metallurgical metaphors for child psychology feels like inherently flawed.
I would argue it is not just flawed. I think it is actively destructive when applied universally.
How so?
Well, they are conflating material science with cognitive development.
Oh, exactly. Jebeddo isn't just a miscast piece of iron.
No.
He is like a biological computer virus introduced into a purely mechanical mainframe.
That is a great analogy.
Right. He operates on organic, highly unpredictable code.
Fueled by his mother's stories.
Fueled by the stories and his own empathy. And the rigid gnome society simply does not have the antivirus software to process him.
They really don't.
So their only recourse is brute force. They try to hammer the virus out of the machine.
That is a highly effective way to conceptualize the friction, honestly.
Thanks.
The instructors see his pranks and his chaotic energy not as a misdirected cry for engagement.
It should obviously.
Exactly, it is. But they see it as structural impurities that must be violently purged.
Violently purged, yes. They are terrified of his unpredictability.
They are. And because they've labeled him the defective element, he becomes the permanent scapegoat.
Right. The moment anything goes wrong in the tunnels, the other kids point to Jebeddo.
And the adults don't even question it.
They don't. The narrative confirms their bias. But what fascinates me is Jebeddo's reaction to this systemic injustice.
It is very telling.
Lescart writes that when wrongly accused, Jebeddo falls into a limitless rage.
A limitless rage. That is a very intense phrase.
It really is, especially for a 12-year-old.
Right. But it speaks to the depth of his isolation.
Exactly.
When a child realizes that the very institutions designed to protect and nurture them.
Family and school, yeah.
Right. When they realize those institutions are fundamentally aligned against their core identity, the resulting emotion isn't just sadness.
No, it is fury.
It is a profound existential fury.
Because he is surrounded by hundreds of his own kind, yet he has no true kin.
Exactly. He is a sociocultural orphan living in his own father's house.
Wow, yes. And if your own species rejects you, where do you go?
You look outward.
You look outward. And in Jebeddo's case, he looks upward.
Up to the upper caverns.
Exactly. He starts sneaking away from the deep, highly regulated lower tunnels and ventures into the upper caverns.
Which act as a kind of liminal zone.
Yeah. Explain that a bit more.
Well, it is the frontier, essentially. It is between the heavily fortified, structured world of the gnomes.
Right. The strict rules.
Yeah, and the chaotic, untamed wilderness of the surface.
Ah, I see.
And liminal spaces are where tricksters thrive.
That makes perfect sense. By moving to the upper caverns, Jebeddo is physically acting out his psychological state.
Exactly. He doesn't belong in the deep stone.
But he isn't equipped for the surface world either.
Right, so he exists in the threshold.
He exists in the threshold.
Yeah.
And it is in this threshold that he starts collecting outcasts of a different sort.
The animals.
The animals.
Mm-hmm.
Earthworms, salamanders.
The creatures that have slipped through the cracks.
Right. He is desperate to project his immense capacity for empathy onto something that will not judge him.
Something that won't care if he lacks a beard.
Or if he fails at iron forging. Exactly. And this desperation peaks with the bear cub incident.
Oh, the bear cub.
We have to dig into this scene. The mechanics of it are critical for the rest of the book.
Very critical.
So he finds a baby bear up in the liminal zone.
Right.
And instead of leaving it, he carries it down into the deep tunnels.
Which is just
insane. He brings a surface predator directly into the heart of the Fergus Clan hold.
It is a breathtakingly naive action.
It really is.
But, it operates on a perfectly internally consistent logic for Jebeddo.
Yeah. Walk me through that logic.
Well, he sees a creature that is small, potentially frightened, and in need of care.
Okay.
And he recognizes himself in the cub.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So he brings it to the only place he knows is home, operating under the delusion that his family might share his capacity for unconditional acceptance.
Which is heartbreaking. He literally walks into the room holding this sniffing, bewildered bear cub.
Right.
And he says to his father, I thought she might stay with us. She is harmless. She only needs a little care.
It is an incredibly raw, vulnerable moment.
It is.
And Borgrim shatters that vulnerability with absolute prejudice.
He completely destroys it. I am curious about your read on Borgrim here, actually.
Okay.
Because I found his reaction incredibly harsh, obviously.
Sure.
But I also had to pause and think about the reality of their environment.
We're right. Context matters.
Exactly. Borgrim isn't a suburban dad yelling about a stray dog.
No, he is not.
He is a mining elder responsible for the safety of a subterranean settlement.
Exactly.
From his perspective, a bear, even a baby one, represents the chaotic, lethal surface world infiltrating their defenses.
And that is a crucial nuance. We shouldn't misread Borgrim as a two-dimensional villain here.
Right.
He operates from a place of, generational trauma and survivalist pragmatism.
Generational trauma, wow.
Yeah, because for centuries, the gnomes have survived by controlling their environment.
To survive underground, everything must be predictable.
Exactly. Everything must be predictable. And a bear is the antithesis of predictability. So when Borgrim looks at the cub, he doesn't see a pet. He sees an existential threat.
Which makes his dialogue in this scene so heavy.
Oh, the dialogue is brutal.
He yells at Jebeddo, questioning his sanity, and then delivers this chilling line.
A bear is never harmless, and neither is foolishness.
Yes, a bear is never harmless, and neither is foolishness.
What is fascinating here is the semantic equation Borgrim makes.
The equation between the bear and the foolishness.
Exactly. By linking the innate predatory nature of the bear to Jebeddo's foolishness, Borgrim is essentially classifying his own son's empathy as a lethal threat.
A lethal threat to the household.
Yes. He is telling Jebeddo that his worldview is not just wrong.
It is dangerous.
It is dangerous.
And the threat is backed by ultimate violence.
Right. Borgrim's ultimatum.
He tells Jebeddo to return the cub before nightfall or he will kill it himself.
Just Brutal.
And this is the moment where Lescart shows us the physical manifestation of Jebeddo's internal fracture.
Yeah.
Jebeddo tries to argue back, but the protest literally dies in his throat.
He freezes.
He freezes, the anger burns behind his eyes, but he goes completely silent.
And that silence is the most important sound in the chapter.
I agree completely.
It is the death of his open rebellion.
And the birth of his covert, subversive self.
Exactly. Jebeddo realizes definitively that his father's house cannot harbor his true nature.
No.
If he wants to practice empathy, if he wants to engage with the organic world, it must be hidden.
Right. The overt misfit becomes the covert trickster.
Beautifully said.
Thank you. Which transitions us beautifully into his next move.
The open attempt at kinship failed, so he goes underground.
Figuratively and literally.
Yes.
He procures a tiny mountain mouse.
Which is brilliant.
It is. It is small enough to conceal, quiet enough to escape notice.
And he gives it the most brilliantly undignified name imaginable.
Stinky Poach.
Stinky Poach.
I love it.
The name alone is a subtle rebellion.
Against the self-serious naming conventions of the Fergus Clan.
Exactly.
Oh.
Against the grandiose naming conventions.
Right. You have Borgrim, Mirabelle, the elders of Norwesis.
And then you have Stinky Poach.
It is so good. But the practical problem is that Borgrim would undoubtedly crush a mouse just as quickly as he would a bear.
Without hesitation.
So Jebeddo has to invent a mobile sanctuary.
And this is where we see the fusion of his mother's imagination and his father's mechanical aptitude.
Oh, that is a great point. He takes his tunic and sews a hidden pocket deep inside the sleeve.
A bespoke, wearable habitat.
Yes. And what kills me is how he interacts with the mouse during class.
Oh, the circus tricks?
The circus tricks. He teaches her to walk a tiny tightrope between his fingers, doing acrobatics behind the instructor's back.
Which takes incredible dexterity, by the way.
It does. And the moment the teacher turns around, Jebeddo performs this flawless sleight of hand.
It is so smooth.
He feigns a stretch, scratches his ear, and the mouse vanishes up his sleeve.
It is a masterful piece of physical comedy.
It really is.
But it also highlights a shift in Jebeddo's relationship with the institution.
How?
Well, he is no longer just the kid acting out because he is angry, you know.
Right.
He has created a parallel reality right under the nose of authority.
Oh, I see. It reminds me of the way a high school student will covertly text under their desk.
Yes, perfect comparison.
Like they are physically present in the classroom, but their attention, their reality is completely untethered from the lecture.
Exactly. Jebeddo has essentially hacked the GNOME educational system.
He has. He is fulfilling the physical requirements of attendance while completely subverting its psychological intent.
And as with any successful hack, it quickly goes viral.
It really does. The classmates find out.
Of course they do.
And the very same kids who were perfectly happy to throw him to the wolves when a prank went wrong.
Right, the ones who always blamed him.
Yes. Suddenly they realize what he has. And they're completely mesmerized.
Which tells us something really important.
What's that?
It tells us that Jebeddo isn't the only apprentice suffocating under the iron-striking pedagogy of the instructors.
Oh, absolutely not.
He is just the only one brave, or maybe desperate enough, to actively seek an alternative.
And once he demonstrates that alternative, the facade of institutional conformity shatters.
Completely shattered.
Within 24 hours, practically every kid in the class has managed to smuggle a rodent into the school.
Which is just incredible, the logistics alone.
I know. The entire dynamic of the classroom shifts without the instructors even realizing it.
Right. Jebeddo has unwittingly become a revolutionary leader.
A revolutionary leader with a mouse in his sleeve.
Exactly. Because he didn't draft a manifesto, right? He didn't organize a strike.
Yeah.
He simply demonstrated the possibility of joy and companionship within a sterile environment.
And it acted as a catalyst.
Yes. This is the essence of the trickster archetype.
They don't dismantle systems through direct confrontation.
No, they dismantle them by introducing a variable the system cannot process.
Forcing the system to collapse under its own rigid weight.
Beautifully put.
And, oh man, does it ever collapse. We have to talk about the fall of Mistress Catapult.
Oh, we absolutely have to.
This is arguably the comedic centerpiece of the chapter.
It is a masterclass in narrative tension, for sure.
It really is. Lescart sets the stage perfectly, layering in specific character details that make the ensuing disaster entirely inevitable.
Everything just lines up perfectly for chaos.
Let's look at the variables. First, you have the environment. The classroom desks have these narrow chalk channels running just below the slate.
Right, designed for holding writing implements.
Exactly. Second, you have the variable. Jebeddo has let Stinky Poach out to explore, and she is currently navigating this dusty chalk groove.
Right where the chalk is supposed to be.
Yes. And finally, you have the catalyst. Mistress Catapult enters the room.
And Mistress Catapult is, well, she is the embodiment of archaic institutional memory.
Yes, she is the historian of the Third Tunnel Age.
Her entire existence is dedicated to preserving the past.
And enforcing grammatical perfection.
And crucially, she is severely myopic.
Severely myopic. She relies on these massive, thick lenses that sit crooked on her nose.
But on this particular morning, she hasn't put them on yet.
She operates entirely on routine.
Right.
She walks to the front, reaches blindly into the chalk channel exactly where the chalk has been placed for 50 years.
And her fingers clamp down firmly on a living mountain mouse.
Yes. If we pause right here at the moment of contact, the thematic resonance is incredible.
It is so layered.
You have the ultimate representative of static, dead history, physically grasping the unpredictable organic reality of the present moment.
And the present moment bites back.
Quite literally. Stinky Poach sinks her teeth into Mistress Catapult's hand.
Which, you know, is an entirely justified response from the mouse's perspective.
Of course.
Yeah.
You grab a mouse, it's going to bite you.
Yeah.
And then the chaos detonates. Mistress Catapult recoils, drops the mouse, and completely loses her mind.
She scrambles onto the desk,
This elderly, dignified historian of the Third Tunnel Age.
waving her arms and shrieking at the top of her lungs.
The wild animals are attacking us. We're doomed. Save yourselves, children.
It is a hysterical overreaction.
It really is.
But it perfectly illustrates the profound fragility of her worldview.
So what does this all mean? When I read her reaction, I couldn't help but feel like Lescart is making a viciously funny point about how disconnected these adult gnomes are from reality.
Oh, absolutely.
They are so insulated by their stone walls, their historical ages, and their rigid rules
Right.
that when a mouse, a creature weighing perhaps a few ounces, enters their space, they process it as an apocalyptic event.
You have hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
The humor is derived from the total disproportion of the threat versus the reaction.
Exactly.
Mistress Catapult cannot perceive the mouse as just a mouse because her paradigm doesn't allow for unauthorized biology in her classroom.
Right. Unauthorized biology.
Therefore, if something bites her, it must be a monstrous invasion.
Her mind immediately jumps to "we are doomed."
Because a system based entirely on absolute control has zero tolerance for anomaly.
Right. One broken rule means the entire structure is failing. And the apprentices, who've been vibrating with repressed energy, they seize the moment.
They don't panic.
No, they revel in it. They start running around the room, joyously screaming the exact same phrases.
Wild animals are attacking. We are doomed.
They are mocking the hysteria while actively participating in it. It is a beautiful riot.
It is the cathartic release of all that iron-striking pressure.
Yes. Notice Jebeddo's reaction in the midst of this.
Oh, he's the eye of the hurricane.
He is. While everyone else is screaming, he simply reaches down, scoops up Stinky Poach, and slips her back into his sleeve.
He secures the asset.
He secures the asset, exactly. So by the time the head instructor kicks the doors open to see what all the screaming is about, the evidence is completely gone.
There are no wild animals.
Just a terrified elderly historian standing on a desk.
And a classroom full of suddenly very quiet, very innocent-looking kids.
It is brilliant.
And the aftermath of this event is handled with such brilliant, polite ruthlessness by the Gnome Society.
Yes. They just gaslight her into retirement.
It is wild.
The head instructor doesn't investigate. They don't search the kids.
No.
They look at Mistress Catapult, look at the empty chalk channel, and essentially say, well, obviously her mind is gone.
And she is gently but firmly removed from her position of authority.
Which is how a rigid bureaucracy protects itself, right?
Exactly. If the institution admits that a wild animal bypassed their security and infiltrated a classroom, that is a systemic failure.
Right.
But if they decide that the historian simply had a hallucination due to old age, that is an isolated individual failure.
The system remains perfect. The individual is flawed.
That is exactly how they spin it.
That is so dark when you put it like that.
It is dark.
But Lescart keeps the tone light by giving us this little flash forward of her retirement.
Oh, the healer in the upper caverns.
Yes. She is sent to live under the care of a healer from the upper caverns.
And her therapy consists of this healer patiently explaining to her every week
that chalk rarely bites.
And wild animals seldom attack during a lesson in punctuation.
It is so funny.
It is a gentle exile, but an exile nonetheless.
She becomes a victim of the very inflexibility she spent her life teaching.
Right.
But the underlying problem for the instructors hasn't been solved.
No, Mistress Catapult is gone, but the rodent contagion has already spread.
The kids still have the mice.
They do.
And this sets us up for the final catastrophic collision of Jebeddo's empathy and the gnome rules.
The incident at the common pool.
The common pool.
This is where Lescart shifts from illustrating Jebeddo's subversion to illustrating his fundamental flaw.
What's his fundamental flaw?
Yeah, because Jebeddo may be a trickster, but he isn't a mastermind.
Right. He is still a 12-year-old boy operating on highly emotional, deeply flawed logic.
Exactly. It is the logic of pure, unfiltered projection.
So the apprentices are scheduled for a swimming lesson in the great common pool.
Right?
They can't take the mice into the water, obviously.
Oh.
And Jebeddo, who spends every waking moment grappling with his own profound loneliness, looks at the situation and thinks, if we all leave our mice in our separate lockers, the mice will be lonely.
He is anthropomorphizing the rodents to an extreme degree.
Applying his own psychological trauma to them.
Yes.
So his solution, which he proposes with total sincerity, is to gather all the mice, dozens of them,
Dozens.
and put them into a single large wooden box while the kids swim.
It is a terrible idea.
He literally argues that way they will not feel lonely.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this moment encapsulates the tragedy of Jebeddo's character.
How so?
Well, his motivation is entirely pure.
Right.
He is attempting to engineer a community for these creatures because his own community has failed him.
He wants to prevent isolation.
Exactly. But he entirely lacks the practical foresight to understand the biological reality of what he's doing.
The biological reality being that if you put several dozen mountain mice into a confined wooden space, they are going to form a support group.
No, they are going to chew through the wood.
Which is exactly what happens.
It is the inevitable triumph of nature over a badly designed container.
The kids finish their swimming lesson 2 hours later.
2 hours is a long time for rodents.
It is. They come back to the changing area, and they find a massive hole gnawed cleanly through the side of the box.
The box is empty.
The box is empty, and the great common pool of the Fergus Clan has descended into utter pandemonium.
The visual Lescart paints here is fantastic.
It is glorious. You have mice darting over wet towels, scurrying under stone benches, slipping into the drainage grates.
The adult gnomes are shrieking.
The gnome wardens are mobilized, treating it like a tactical breach.
Officially declaring a rodent invasion.
The scale of the chaos is magnificent. And of course, the apprentices are immediately blamed and slapped with a 3-month ban from the pool.
Jebeddo tried to build a utopia, and he accidentally unleashed a plague.
He really did. But this isn't just a funny set piece.
Yeah.
When you stack it up against everything else we've unpacked today.
The alienation from his father, the desperate need for connection.
The accidental revolution in the classroom.
Right.
You really see the complete architecture of a misfit.
You do.
We laugh at the chaos, but there's a melancholy undertone to all of it.
Definitely.
Jebeddo isn't trying to destroy Norwesis. He isn't acting out of malice.
He is just trying to carve out a tiny space where his empathy is allowed to exist.
Yes, but because Norwesis is so rigid, any expression of organic empathy manifests as a structural threat.
It is the paradox of the trickster.
Right.
He brings life to a dead system, but life, by its very nature, disrupts order.
Lescart has taken what could have been a very standard boy and his pet trope and elevated it into a sharp sociological critique of institutional inflexibility.
He really has.
And it leaves us fully invested in this kid.
Yeah.
We feel the ache of his isolation.
We absolutely do.
But here is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, the ending.
Just when you think you have a handle on the scale of the story.
That it is just about a boy, his stern father, and some mischievous mice.
Exactly. Lescart pulls the camera way, way back.
He executes a massive perspective shift.
He reminds the reader that the gnomes, for all their pride and perceived control, are essentially just occupying the very top layer of an ancient, unimaginably deep world.
Right.
We leave the chaos of the swimming pool. We leave the Fergus Clan tunnels. The narrative descends deep into the roots of the Fairy Roast Mountains.
And the text casually informs us that something far, far larger than a mountain mouse has already begun to stir in the dark. It is a masterful hook.
It really is. It recontextualizes the entire chapter.
It does. The adult gnomes have spent all their effort freaking out over a handful of tiny rodents.
They are so fixated on maintaining the minutiae of their bureaucratic order that they are completely blind to the tectonic threat waking up beneath them.
They are listening to the echoes of their own hammers while the mountain itself is clearing its throat.
Wow, that is perfectly said. Jebeddo doesn't know about it yet. He thinks his biggest problem is his father finding out about Stinky Poach. But his world, this suffocating, predictable world of stone and iron, is about to be violently restructured.
Which brings us back to the core thematic question of the text.
Which is?
When the unimaginable finally breaches the walls of Norwesis, who is going to be equipped to handle it?
Well, it certainly won't be Borgrim, who thinks he can command a bear to leave.
And it won't be the instructors who think they can beat reality into shape like iron.
No, it is going to be the kid who already knows how to navigate the chaos.
Exactly.
And that raises an important question for all of you listening, something to consider as you navigate your own professional or personal ecosystems.
Think about this.
When an organization or a society forcefully suppresses its most empathetic, creative, unconventional minds.
When it insists on striking the iron over and over again to ensure conformity.
Right. Is it actually building strength?
Or is it systematically destroying the very adaptability it will need when the paradigm shifts?
Look at the misfits in your own life. The people who don't follow the unspoken rules, who ask frustrating questions, who seem to operate on an entirely different frequency.
We often treat them like structural flaws.
We do. But when the ground finally shakes and whatever giant unknown is stirring in the deep finally breaks through the surface, those flaws might be the only ones with the flexibility to survive the collapse.
So the next time you hear an echo, make sure you know who's making the noise.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.